What's up? Welcome into the Fast Break. Andrew Beaton, Daniel Carp, Danny Nolan here to break down this Saturday's matchup against the Syracuse Orange. And guys, this may be the toughest game of the year for Duke. Already played number 1 Arizona, but that was on a neutral court. This is on the road in the Carrier Dome, and a lot of things to look at in this game. But the first thing we have to talk about is that patented zone defense for the Orange.
Absolutely, Danny. The zone defense is what has made Syracuse one of the perennial contenders in all of college basketball year in and year out. And one of the things about it is the way Jim Boeheim sets up his defense. This is not a passive zone by any means. Most zone defenses, they're trying to sit back and make you make decisions, make you take bad shots, make you throw bad cross-court passes. Syracuse, they attack you because they're aggressive, they're long, they're athletic, and that's what forces teams to really struggle against them.
And they've been actually surprisingly vulnerable on defense this year. They're giving up 58 points a game, which is in the top 10 in Division I, but they're also playing one of the top 10 slowest paces in the nation. So what they're really trying to do with the way they run the game is just limit possessions. On the defensive end, they're actually letting opponents make 41% of the shots. That's middle of the road. So what's going to be key for Duke is taking advantage of their opportunities and playing at their own pace, which they're actually able to do this year against teams like Virginia, teams like Miami, which also really try and slow the game down, but Duke was able to control the tempo and win those games pretty easily.
I think one of the benefits that Duke has going into this game is that they've actually seen a lot of zone defense this year. You talk about the NCAA's new hand check rules. A lot more teams are switching it up within games, going to zone because they're less likely to commit bad fouls doing that. And especially if you want to look at one really important game on Duke's schedule, when they played a non-conference game against Eastern Michigan back in December, Eastern Michigan's head coach was a Boeheim assistant for a long time. He incorporates a lot of the elements of Boeheim's 2-3 zone into his own defense, and you know that when Coach K was trying to schedule for this year, he was thinking, I got to get some experience playing against this type of defense because I know I got 2 games against Syracuse this year.
And when you talk about Duke's offense, it's a very perimeter-oriented team. I mean, they have a lot of three-point shooters, and they live and die by it a lot of times in these games. With guys like Andre Dawkins playing well lately, you got a guy like Rodney Hood shooting well on the perimeter. Obviously, Rasheed Suleiman and Quinn Cook have gotten better as well. How is that going to be impacted in this game, playing a really tough Syracuse defense?
I mean, it's going to be huge. Duke needs to knock down three-point shots if they're going to win this game. I don't think they win this game if they have an off-shooting night. At the same time, I think a lot of this comes from establishing an inside presence early. Having guys like Jabari Parker and Rodney Hood are able to drive the lane. Emil Jefferson and Marshall Plumlee are going to play probably a more important role in the offense, playing against the zone where you can move the ball in different ways. And by getting into the lane early and forcing Syracuse to collapse that defense, that's going to open up space on the perimeter for guys like Andre Dawkins, Rasheed Suleiman, Tyler Thornton, Quinn Cook to knock down some of those open shots. And if they can do that, then Duke's going to be in a good position to potentially win this game.
And they also get their best three-point looks off offensive rebounds. And when you talk about trying to rebound against the zone, it has to be big days for Jabari Parker, Emil Jefferson, and Marshall Plumlee, not only playing good offense in the paint and being good on the defensive boards, but getting Duke those second chance opportunities, which have been key in the last few games. And you get those offensive rebounds, you get a lot of quick out passes to Rodney Hood, Andre Dawkins, Tyler Thornton, and Quinn Cook, who've been knocking them down. So it's about getting them those opportunities when Syracuse tries to limit opportunities by playing so slowly.
And that's one of the advantages that Duke does have. When you're playing against a zone defense, it's harder to block out on either side, the offensive or the defensive glass. But it leaves you especially susceptible to offensive rebounds because when you're playing a zone, you're not concentrating on putting yourself on a body. So when that shot goes up, you have an extra second where you have to react and figure out who the closest person is to you. So that leaves teams vulnerable sometimes in those situations.
And they've been a lot better the last 2 games against Pitt and Florida State, respectively. Now, moving forward, Andrew, you actually wrote a column this week for the Duke Chronicle about the relationship between these 2 legendary coaches. You have Coach K, you have Coach Boeheim. Give us a look into this first conference matchup between the 2 of them.
It's just so interesting because you have the 2 guys who, 2 active coaches, tops in the NCAA in wins. They coached together on Team USA, where Coach K was the head coach, Boeheim was an assistant. So there's no doubt they're familiar with each other. They're good friends, and you're going to this matchup, and it's just a rare opportunity to see 2 of the best college coaches ever playing not just once this season, twice this season. You're going to see, just a real chess match. You're going to see this first game, but then it's going to be even crazier the second time around when they've done it once against each other, and then they're really just trying to outstudy each other, outwork each other.
And one of the people that actually is going to help this team a lot for Syracuse is a very underrated freshman, Dan.
Absolutely. Tyler Ennis. If you don't know that name, know it now, because he might be the most underrated freshman in the entire country. And I really think that although C.J. Fair is a leading scorer and a lethal weapon on the outside, Tyler Ennis is this team's X factor. They will go as far as he goes. You look at his statistics in games against ranked opponents, his scoring average is higher. He plays 39 minutes a game. The dude doesn't want to leave the floor. And as a freshman in the ACC, Jabari Parker has gotten a lot of hype, and deservedly so, because he has been sensational. But Ennis is the guy who has the potential to be a difference maker in this game, playing in front of his home crowd.
It'll be interesting to see how Duke chooses to match up against him. Naturally, the first look goes to Duke's point guard, Quinn Cook, but they've also been doing a lot of interesting things defensively, where they've had Rashid Suleiman, Tyler Thornton guard the opposing team's one, allowing Quinn Cook to do more other things. And Cook has been good. He's averaging a couple steals a game. But they've been doing other things, so it'll be interesting to see who gets those looks on Tyler Ennis.
So now we look at this matchup, guys. Syracuse, Duke, two of the best teams in the ACC, arguably two of the best teams in the country. Who wins the game in the Carrier Dome?
You know, I think Duke is playing some of his best basketball of the year right now, and that's definitely serving them well going into this game. At the same time, Syracuse is expecting 36,000 people to be packing the Dome this week. Syracuse students have been camping out for almost 2 weeks for this game. And by the way, Syracuse, it gets pretty cold there. They've had quite a few nights of sub-zero temperatures, and I think this is going to be a record-setting crowd for the Dome and potentially for a men's basketball game on a college campus in the entire NCAA. I think Syracuse is too much for Duke this time. There's a reason why they're undefeated. It's going to be tough to play there. I think they take it 68-62.
I actually think the Blue Devils take this 70-61. They've done well against these slow teams this year, and even though Syracuse is undefeated, they've probably played worse than the record suggests. They've had a lot of close calls against teams you don't want to have close calls against in Miami, and Miami again. And that's the team Duke really walloped, and I think Duke just is playing great basketball, great defense right now. They take this.
All right, so it should be a fun matchup. Duke-Syracuse this Saturday at Syracuse. For Andrew Beaton, Daniel Carp, I'm Danny Nolan. We'll see you all later.